Hi, Mark Klebenow with Clear Lake Living. Thanks for watching again. We are back today at Independence Title Company, and I'm being joined once again by Sarah Robertson.
Hello, everyone.
The last video that we did, we were talking about title insurance. So now I think what I want to cover today is sort of when the client gets involved in what happens sort of in the process,
Okay.
and when you guys get involved and things like
And
that.
what we're doing. Okay.
Yeah, what you're doing. So
Sure.
when does thinking about a buyer transaction.
Okay.
When does the title company get involved?
The title company is going to become involved once that contract is executed.
Okay.
Okay, once you have that executed contract.
So I'm the buyer's agent. I've submitted a contract to the listing agent. The seller goes, "Yep, we accept that."
Right.
Okay. So next step, send
It's
it
going to
over.
be sent over to the title company. We're going to open your file.
Okay. And then so I'm going to at some point I'm going to drop a check off here
Yes.
for the earnest
So
money.
we do receipt in the earnest money. We will send that receipt out to both buyer agent and seller agent, letting them know that we are in full contract. The deposit has been made on good faith for the buyer. So the seller does know that he has a serious transaction.
Right. So it's sort of mandatory.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
everybody's on the same page
Yes.
now. Okay. So what comes next?
So next after that, once we have that receipted in, we will send the file over to our title examiner.
Okay. We talked about that
Right,
a
that's
little
when the
bit.
examination process happens. After that comes back and it's sent out to all parties, letting them know what's happening with the file and the property. The next step really is to contact the buyer and seller with additional questions that we will need.
Okay.
For just to smooth out the closing process. So we don't have to keep reaching out to the agents or to the clients if we may need anything. We have all of that information up front.
And by the way, regardless of which side I'm working on, with a seller
Mm-hmm.
or with a buyer, I'm going to tell them, by the way, Sarah is going to be contacting you. So when they
Yes.
see a number that they don't call, because everybody screens their
Yes.
calls nowadays, they know what Sarah's
a
calling
legitimate
and she needs some
question.
information from you.
Yes.
Okay.
Give it to me.
So
I'll do
that's
it.
probably your first
Interaction with the client.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, okay. So we've dropped the check off, you open the file, you started the examination.
And then once we have all of that information, I'm then going to either reach out to the buyer's lender if a lender is involved.
Okay, because they're not always.
They're not always. We do get cash transactions, and that's even simpler. We just make sure we have all buyer-seller information, and then we just get to the closing table once we have tax certificates and
But you're going to do the full examination,
Yes,
and the
prior
buyer,
to all of that.
whether they've got a lender or not,
Or
they know
not.
that land it belongs to them
yes,
now.
correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, everyone gets the same type of examination, whether you do have a lender involved or whether you're paying cash for your property.
Okay, and then so you may have to do something else, like you may have to order a survey.
So correct. So depending on what is written out in the contract, we will order a new survey if needed. We do review existing surveys on properties.
If they have them.
If they have them, sometimes they are rejected due to either age or they don't note all of the easements running through the property per the title commitment.
Sometimes the surveys can be really old.
Yes, and so we'll have to update that.
Okay.
Um,
And again, that's something that has to be paid for,
Yes.
and that could be
And that-
the seller or the
or
buyer.
the buyer, that's negotiated
Depends upon how
in
good
your
I am.
contract. Yes.
Okay, right.
And another thing that would need to be done if the property lies within one is a homeowners association. We have to order a resale certificate or a statement of account
Okay.
to make sure that that HOA on the property is up to date, that that seller's not behind, or there's no fees that we do need to collect in order to transfer that property from the seller to the new owner.
Okay, so I think, are we at the closing table now?
We are just about there. So now we are in contact with the lender, if there is to be one,
Okay.
with the purchase. So we are going to send all of that information, HOA, title commitment, tax certificate information, survey over to the borrower's lender. They will review that, complete their lending process, and then that lender will then in turn send me what's called a closing disclosure.
Okay.
So that is the financials of the transaction for your buyer and seller. We will work to balance that out. Once that is balanced and approved by that lender, it will then go out to all parties, and we are at the end of the processing of the file. So we can now move to scheduling closing.
Okay, so we have, you know, we have the buyer or the seller's got some activity going on. I've got some activity going on. The lender's got some activity going on.
Yes.
There's warranty companies. There's inspections.
Yes.
I don't know if I missed it, but you guys are sort of what the hub
Right.
of a lot of this activity.
We're contacting everyone, making sure it's all coming together within the time frame of the contract and trying to keep it on track so there's no delays in the closing process.
That's
Sometimes there
that's
are.
why it's important to pick the right title company.
Yes, very much so. You're correct on that. Once we're at the closing table, myself, Brittany, or Wendy will sit down with the client and sign the entire document package, whether it be cash or a lending deal. We will review every single document with the clients, and if they do have any questions, that is the time for them to ask them.
And you can ask. I've been to
Yes.
closings that last 20 minutes and ones that last an hour and a
2
half.
hours, yeah, it just depends.
It's your time
Yes.
to ask the question. If you don't understand, ask.
Yes. There's never a bad question whenever you're purchasing real estate. It's a big
It's a
transaction.
big deal.
No matter whether it's your first time or your 10th time buying or selling, it's still a big step. And a lot of clients are kind of scared, or they're like, is it okay? And then you have others that are basically pros at it, and they're like, I've done it so many times, don't even worry about it.
No, not one question.
Yes.
And then finally, I'm going to hand them the keys.
Yes, so as soon as I have all funds from the lender and the buyer, and we have authorization from a lender if one is involved, that is the very last step of the closing process. Once I have all that, I will then in turn give the keys to the new homeowner.
Bingo.
That's
That's
it.
all it. Well, that has been a fantastic series, I believe. I learn something every time. Every time I talk to
Yes.
somebody, I'm
Every
learning something
transaction
new.
is a learning experience.
And
in
sometimes
total.
I know I learn my primary learning is just pick up the phone and call them.
Yeah.
So anyway,
We're always here.
They are. Thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate Sarah being with us and answering all of our questions for us. We're going to put our contact information up on these videos so you can get a hold of her directly. I'll also answer correct questions right here on the channel, so if you got questions, let me know. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and if you want to stay up on the latest information on the local real estate market. But for now,
Thank
that's
you.
it. Thank you, and
We'll
bye
see
for
you
now.
later.
All right, bye-bye.